good morning, everyone. My name is Trevor Henley, and I'm the inspirational activist and founder of Desire to Inspire Studios. And we are here with our team, most of our team, and Michael Pritchard. And today we have with us, holy cow,
John
don't
Wallace.
do this to me, John Wallace.
Wow, Fred.
And John, we're glad that you can be here today. And our conversation today for Donuts for Breakfast is Juneteenth. And today the tagline for our Donuts for Breakfast show is where action meets compassion. Aren't you proud of me, Ra? I got that together.
So proud of you.
And we always have the great and honorable and wise and sometimes funny Michael Pritchard with us today. Say hello, Mike.
Hello, everybody. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Beautiful. And so Juneteenth. Someone want to tell us, what it's about, why, and start it off? Ra, actually, you should start it off. You called this one together.
I agree.
Killing me on the spot and everything.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'll give you one more second. Yes, it is Donuts for Breakfast, and you'll notice right here, we got donuts this time.
We did it right this time.
And they are provided by Jelly Donuts here in Terra Linda, who's been around forever and by far one of my favorite donut shops. So, swing by, get a donut. It's not on us, but, let them know you remember it from here. So, all right, Ra, take it away. Juneteenth.
June 19th, 1865 was the year that the last slaves were told of their freedom. The emancipation of the slaves occurred in 1863. But that didn't reach Texas until 1865. And I'm sure they knew, but nobody said nothing for a whole 2 years. And that is why we celebrate Juneteenth, because it was the year that the last slaves were officially freed. Why do you?
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a huge deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
So, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's definitely an Independence Day, for sure. It's a celebration. It's a remembrance. It's an education.
Well put.
I think that the recognition of Juneteenth as a federal holiday definitely slants the sphere. It slants the mirror against it. And I think that the atmosphere around it now is going to be a point of contention for a very long time to come.
In a good way or a bad way?
In a bad way.
It'll cause anger on the oppositional side.
So it went from being a very cultural holiday,
Right.
to being an up for grabs. And anytime something goes from being culturally owned, resonating with the people, to being given to the masses, the opportunity for perversion, the opportunity for capitalization, the opportunity for diluting its meaning always becomes the paramount. And I think that on both sides of the should it, shouldn't be, what is it, why, how do we celebrate as a nation versus how it was celebrated culturally since 1865.
Right.
I think that is going to be very telling for our nation. The last recognized federal holiday was Martin Luther King Day and Memorial Day. So that, and the recognition of Martin Luther King Day was done state by state by state by state.
Right.
And the reasonings for each of those states to adopt Martin Luther King Day as a federal holiday varied depending on red, blue, I lived in a state where the only reason why they accepted Martin Luther King Day as a federal holiday was because the Super Bowl refused to be held in their state unless they acknowledged it. So,
You are my greatest professor. I love you so much. And the fact that symbolically you just rolled up your sleeves.
Oh,
You rolled up your sleeves. I got work to do. I got work to do. I'm going to be teaching.
so to bring it back, we did talk about this in a meeting. We talked about Juneteenth, and I don't know if you guys all know this or not, but Juneteenth is also my anniversary. I didn't plan that. It just kind of happened that way. And I had my father-in-law ask me how I felt about the entire nation celebrating my anniversary, and that to me was just as much of a red flag. Like those are not the same thing. Those two things shouldn't even be considered. And it was a joke, but it was poignant to me. Like the entire nation is celebrating a holiday that was not recognized, widely known, appreciated, or understood until last year.
Yeah, it was overdue. It's more than overdue.
And the sun rose on it, didn't it? I mean, even in the media. Go ahead.
I was just saying real quick, your anniversary of what? I think we missed a key detail.
Oh, my wedding anniversary?
Yeah. And why is that significant?
Why is what significant?
Your wedding anniversary and Juneteenth being the same day, because you're married to.
Oh, white guy.
Yeah.
He's real big and Irish and German, and there's some really weird cognitive dissonance about that. But we don't need to get into that. we don't need to get into that.
Hey, you're big Irish.
We don't
Anyway.
need to get into that.
Right.
We had the conversation about Juneteenth. Anyway, my point for pointing that out was that he asked me how I felt about it, and I said, I have mixed feelings. I have mixed feelings about Juneteenth being federally recognized. I have a lot of frustration. I have a lot of just angst about it. Anxiety about it. It pokes. It's a pain point.
Well put, all of it. Everything that you just said explains the emotional tenor that people should understand and understand and not overstand in our country. Well done.
Thanks.
And I just want you to just start teaching this at colleges and junior colleges. Everything that you're doing right now and the essence of the way you talk, you're cool, you're smart, you're wise, you're hip, and you underestimate yourself. But that's for another conversation. All I want to say is I learned today from John Wallace, and I was thinking about this today, how many times John has spoken to me only once, and he moved me on such a deep level, talking about his time watching kids go by San Quentin and holding up signs to their fathers. Children on the ferry going by. And I'm sitting here looking at a young black man thinking of what Rod just talked about, the inadequacies of systems that cannot see nor understand but must try to control and sometimes incarcerate or suppress. And I was a probation person, and I worked at probation and parole. And I started back in the 70s. And I just want you to know that I heard you talking about, and I was telling him when I performed at San Quentin, I said, ironically, and I think it triggered it in him, I said, two men stared out from prison bars. One saw mud and one saw stars. And if we incarcerate or suppress or arrest things that we don't understand because we're afraid, and this is what the angst is from, get us, give us, allow us, help us. But I heard Reverend Al Sharpton this morning on Morning Joe, and he said wisely that we love the police. We want our children to be police. We want our children to help the police. But you have to allow us to teach and educate the public at large as to what has happened and continues to happen.
That part.
Yeah.
That part.
How do you make institutions like self-aware? How do you make them so that they're functional for humans?
You
Right?
you have to rebuild.
Another professor.
You have to rebuild. That's the issue. And you brought up the prison system, the penal system, and we're celebrating the Juneteenth celebrates the freedom of the last slaves in the United States, and then subsequently the system reinvented itself to accommodate the lack of slavery. And so you have a day that's now recognized as a federal holiday, and a penal system that replaced slavery, literally replaced slavery. That's what it was there. That's what it was designed to do. And so it's not really, it really isn't a federal celebration because the federal government hasn't added anything to the freedoms that existed. It's only taken away. And you asked, how do you fix a system like that? You have to completely destroy it and rebuild something different. Our entire country is designed to work around the suppression and the oppression of a people. It's a modern day feudal system. And in order to change that, you have to place value on things that currently aren't given value. Rehabilitation isn't given value in our country.
Yeah.
And that's a great foundation for any kind of incarceration system is rehabilitation. It's just like our healthcare system. There's no money in prevention. There's no money in a cure. There's only money in treatment.
Yeah.
John, you're part of the history and of reclaiming your own spirit, coming back to help children. Tell folks what you've been doing. You're a wise soul as well.
What I've been doing is empowering our youth here in the community to stand up for themselves,
Right.
To use their voice,
Right.
To
Music.
not only through music but through the arts, basically.
Right, yes.
There's an art in music. There's an art in anything you do. There's an art in doing this, what we're doing right now.
Yes, exactly.
And one of the things, I want to go back a little bit because it's important, and I don't want to miss this because Juneteenth is very special to me. It's very special to my family. It's very special to my community. I came here to Marin City at 8 years old, like I was telling you earlier, and coming to an all-black community where it feels just like you're in a box, right? When I was in San Quentin State Prison, serving years in prison, I was in a box in there, right? So when I was walking the yards in San Quentin State Prison and going out, looking at the yards and seeing all the inmates and stuff, I go back to my community where I was released to, and it felt like I was back on the yard. So in my community, there's lights that are the same color that are inside of San Quentin State Prison, right? So on the yard, you have these yellow lights. You have these lights that light up the yard a certain color. In my community, those same exact lights were there.
Yeah.
So it was like I never left prison. And being in Marin City, it was like a 4-block radius for me as a kid.
Yep.
Going to prison, my eyes were open to the fact that, hey, the color of your skin may never set you free.
Yep.
You have to set yourself free. And
Say that again.
the color of your skin may never set you free. You have to set yourself free. Martin Luther King said a lot of great things, and that came from me just now. The color of my skin had to set me free. I had to stop looking at this as a barrier, and I started looking at this as a way to teach and
Yes.
inspire, right? Because this skin is beautiful. And to look at the fact that Juneteenth, there was 3.5 million something slaves that were freed. My people.
Yep.
What'd you learn about yourself?
I learned, the code of freedom, basically, was not just that we were let go, but I learned a specific code that I live by, which is love thy neighbor. And
Long journey.
that's what I try to teach these youth.
Yeah.
We We teach them how to write songs about their lived experience. It's a sneaky therapy way for them to express themselves. You know, I get someone called me arrogant the other day, and it gave me goosebumps. I'm walking down the street like, this lady just called me arrogant, and you know, I thought to myself when I got in my car, and it's not about arrogancy. It's just that I have a passion for the work that I do. You know, I'm very passionate about it because I love saving lives. And I love that someone inspired me enough to say, hey, man, knock it off. You know, you're going to kill yourself.
Right.
And that one person was a judge who sent me to prison. And I was able to tell that man, you just saved my life.
Yes.
By sending me to prison, and you just saved the lives of many others probably.
Okay.
You know, because I was a wrecking time bomb. You know, but yeah, that's what I do in a nutshell, man, is I try to inspire others, and it's pretty cool that, you know, Trevor and I cross paths because, you know, the first name, as I see on your thing, is Inspire, you know, desire to inspire, and, you know, that's huge, man.
I'm really glad we connected. Can I just point out something odd that may or may not have happened? I know it didn't happen on purpose, but part of what I'm part of the DEI campaign for a couple of organizations, and I'm learning, and I've learned that, as many people may or may not know, that I offend people pretty much on a regular basis within the first 30 seconds of meeting them.
Accurate.
Right? I don't necessarily do it on purpose, but I have enough life experience to be able to figure out that I did just offend people. And I've joined these campaigns, one, because, you know, my first statement, Raw, you were very quick to point out that I have a lot to learn, where I said, like, I don't see people of color.
Nope,
Right?
that's not what you said. You said you don't see color.
I don't see color,
Yeah,
right?
that's a
I
very
see people,
specific statement. Exactly.
right? And you were like, yeah, that's nice. I get what you're trying to say,
That's
but
not what
that
you
is
say.
not. And I shared it in another group in my first meeting, and everyone went like, and I was like, yeah, but I'm pointing that out because I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
And part of today is sitting down and having this conversation is like, I see it as a great opportunity, a great celebration, right? But I don't understand the history behind it, right? I don't understand how you guys feel, right?
Yeah.
And I don't understand how maybe we should feel, or I should feel as a white male that's privileged in this society and has all of those things that go along with it.
Right.
But getting back to how I started this is, do you guys notice how we're sitting?
This is just my seat, dude.
Yeah, no.
I was gonna point it out earlier.
All the brown people on one side, all the white people on the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Cesar's fault.
So,
It
so real quick,
It is.
real quick, part of learning and part of why we're doing this is to get out of our comfort zone. We know that we connect with people that are like-minded and similar to us. That's why we're all here in the first place.
Right.
But on a micro or a macro, whichever one it is, we all chose our seats, not on purpose.
I think you're making an assumption.
What are you saying?
I think you're making an assumption that we chose these sides based on something that's subconscious, when I can tell you for a fact that that is not the case.
Okay. Well, I didn't do it. I didn't mean to. I don't know. I was just gonna say, can we do an exercise?
Well,
and
you
switch
did
seats real
say
quick?
something when I came in, I said, where would you like me to sit? And you said, choose any seat you want.
Yeah.
I chose this side. I chose right here.
Right.
Right. But you sat first. Cesar's got to sit there. I think in this case it was coincident. But let me just blanket why I know that you're like that. This isn't the truth in the case is because my natural affinity is not to sit with black
Right.
people, and that's my ownness.
Right.
But this is not a comfort space.
Right.
Like, you know, I don't do well with strangers.
Yeah.
You know, I don't do well with new people. You know that this is not a comfort zone seat for me.
Right.
Naturally, it's just that's where the plug is.
So,
It is. Although the big beautiful smile that you gave me when I walked in
Right.
did a lot.
Yeah,
It did a
yeah,
lot for
yeah,
me.
he's got it.
It did a
so
lot
would
for
it be
me.
necessary or unnecessary to switch up seats right now?
It would be really unnecessary. The
Scott, we're gonna be tripping
recognition
over
of
stuff. I know we're gonna
that
be tripping
is
over
a beautiful thing. Like,
Yeah.
that kind of acknowledgement
Yeah.
is what breathes change.
Yeah.
Recognizing and
Exactly.
wanting it not to be that way.
Right.
That's important. It's that kid on the playground who sees the only kid outside not playing with anybody and walks over and says, hi, do you want to play? It's that acknowledgement that somebody is not comfortable, that the situation isn't correct, and actively choosing to engage in a way to change that. It's concept is right. So yeah. Also, John Wallace and I are going to have an off-screen conversation about how many people we know and or
Well,
might
that's
be
what- that's-
related.
Our circles, our
And
circles
or
went around.
might
too.
be related because my people somewhere in
Say,
city.
sir,
Yeah.
how did all this impact you?
I think as we're talking about just a lot of these systems, right? I think oftentimes we see cultures that bolster themselves with a lot of safety nets because they have generational wealth, because they have the ability to lean on each other, because they've had it a good way. They're
right.
the house. And I think ultimately what we're really trying to hint at is making sure that people understand that it's not about equality, it's about equity. Again,
Yes.
Once again, it's about providing people the ability to better themselves in our society by simply saying it's not a handout, it's making sure everyone knows that we have the opportunities to make it possible. That's what it's all about.
Another great professor to me, all three of you, amazing, good, because I learned. I'm in my 70s now, and I learn more from you three young people than I learned all through college, because it's learning to listen to hearts as opposed to the intellect of a book that teaches you some portion of history, some portion of other things. But listening to the human heart, which is what I've done for years on PBS, listening to kids, it teaches me such a profound wisdom. And if you read the scriptures, everything that Ra's been sharing is Sarah Speaks, which is the wisdom of ancient prophetess who just had Solomonic wisdom. Sarah Speaks is the acknowledgement that women and all of us have if we are wise, we listen to all hearts.
Yep.
Right.
Every single voice has
So
value.
why do you think they took, the history of slavery and the history of Juneteenth and all that stuff and stuffed it under the table from our history books, so that kids wouldn't know about this stuff? I mean, they don't teach it in schools anymore. They narrow it down to one day, Martin Luther King Day, and then they give us a holiday. Joe Biden just signed it, for Juneteenth as a national holiday recently, and there's nothing that talks about the things that have happened in the past. It's as if it was washed under the table.
Right.
And then, like, some people don't even know what a sundown town is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I was
a
gonna
lot
say,
of my people don't know what a sundown town is. We had to not be in neighborhoods where it was all white towns, and
This is in the South.
yeah,
This
and
is
it's still going
all
on possibly
over.
where
There are
an
sundown
African American couldn't be in an all white neighborhood after a certain hour. We were taken or we were killed, and it was just like it was awful. When the sun goes down, you can't be in that town. No. And we don't have this stuff in our history books. We
It's
don't.
passed down.
It's just washed over,
Yeah.
and then to just give us a holiday and recognize it as Juneteenth
Without the
instead of
significance.
you give the Asians all of this stuff, and you just look at black people as if we were just like it just doesn't sit right with me at times.
It is
Things that have happened.
We shouldn't be holding, though, John, I want you
Yeah.
to look at me. buddy.
Yeah,
We shouldn't be holding grief Olympics.
yeah. But I mean,
For that, wait. It's not about that. It's about this. Picture this. On June 6th, in 1944, thousands of women and men hit the beaches at Normandy to fight against hostility, anger, racism, anti-Semitism, and they risked everything. They were different colors, backgrounds, cultures. That should be honored.
right,
You know that, I know
Right.
that.
right.
But it's not just about unburying the past, it's about recognizing the sacrifice. That is
absolutely.
all correct, yeah.
Absolutely. But the
Yeah.
application of that is what's missing, and that's what I think he's saying, is that
Yeah.
the
No, I
application
hear.
It's not talked about.
Right. It's
It needs to be talked
it needs
about.
to be talked about, and
Because the only way this country can move forward
Just what
in
we're doing
any
now.
type of way is doing what we're doing right now, bringing it to the table so that
Yeah.
other people can be informed,
Right.
because the information is here.
but we have a problem is because people still don't want it to be taught as actual education. That's where indoctrination occurs.
Who are the people that don't want it taught? Who do you say it?
The white folks in charge.
Okay.
I would say administrations
far-
that have kind of rigged the system to sort of simply say, hey, look at us, we're saving the world. This is our ability to simply say it's all good and done. That's how it was then, but look at us now. And I think ultimately being able to recognize all the craziness, all the world that went through these changes is the only way we're going to be able to improve. And so having
Is
that
this
ability,
explosive violence manifesting itself right now, do you think? From the grief and the
because people
sorrow
don't
of
understand.
COVID-19?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not out there as it should be. I mean, there's not much I can say as my understanding on this topic. Rod knows this. I mean, you basically broke down what Juneteenth was. I thought it was just the signing of
That happened 2 years
slavery.
before.
It was 2 years after, and it was the last of them being freed. But I grew up in this town, and this isn't, this is a pretty, I don't know, liberal town. People accept each other for the most part here. For the most part. You get some cases.
It's an
But
interesting
Can I hear
dynamic.
that? Can I hear that? Again?
All right.
Okay,
That's
go ahead.
fair. I'm coming from a different background.
That's all right.
And and I grew up here, so I was raised here off of our education system here, and
It's not a bad one.
which isn't bad, but it isn't, the atrocities of America are swept under the rug. Oh, Native people, when we came here, they've helped us pick corn, we gave them
Right.
blankets, Martin Luther King stopped racism, and
Right.
it wasn't like explicitly said that in verbatim
No,
like that,
but it was.
It was implied.
Right.
Yeah, it was implied.
Right. The interesting thing about the history of education in the United States is that it has always been known that education, or lack thereof, is a system of control. It's why slaves were killed for being caught learning to read. It's why, in the black codes, it was considered to be illegal to be a free man at any stage in your life and be caught reading. Education is what eliminates adversity. It's what eliminates oppression, because it's really, really, really hard to oppress a truly educated individual. And it's really hard to divide a community that can communicate adequately with each other. So education has always been a tool of oppression in some fashion or form. And it's also been a tool to shape other institutions. All institutions are interconnected. The institution of marriage is interconnected with the institution of education. It's why women's liberation took so freaking long, because it was never a good idea to educate women. So all of these institutions feed into each other, and they're all based on the idea that somebody needs to be in the dark in order for those institutions to thrive. And
Why do you think that is, Ron?
why
Is that part of human nature?
No, I don't think it is at all. I think that it is a I think that in governments, in civilizations where someone needs to be lesser in order for the majority to thrive, that education is a very large tool. I think in cultures where capitalist or individualistic communities don't see those same, or communities that aren't individualistic don't see those same issues. It's why educations in Far East Asian countries or Indian countries, where families expect you to contribute monetarily, educationally, on all levels, they expect the whole to be more solid for that. So you don't have varying degrees of, public school versus private school. You don't have those tiers, because it doesn't serve the whole. So in communities where the whole is what everybody's trying to take care of, you don't have those kinds of divisions. You still have divisions, but if everybody is trying to contribute, it doesn't serve the community to keep somebody uneducated.
You are such a gifted and wise soul. You are such a gifted.
So just real quick, for the sake of semantics, we are at about 30 minutes of our half-hour program. So
it going, keep it
I'm
going.
gonna just pretend that I started. We pre-recorded 5 minutes or started the timer late. Do we want to roll this another 5 or 10 minutes, or
Do we have an off time?
no? Not technically, other than trying to keep it to our half-hour program that we told it would be.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe I'll do this. How about this? How about this answer? If you are listening and you are watching, we've got some live viewers right now, which I'm really excited about. If you were at that half-hour limit, go ahead and tune out and come back later to this recording, and you'll be able to watch the whole thing.
Scroll to the next video.
Yeah, scroll to the next video. Right. Maybe while we're at this, don't forget to subscribe because I always forget to do this.
Like, follow, and subscribe for more donuts for breakfast. And definitely tune in for our next We Are the Remedy
Which is today at 2.
today at 2. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So I guess we'll continue.
We listen to
Oh,
all
no.
hearts.
Oh, I see how it is. So we'll
You're
just keep
breaking
this
stuff.
going then, and then I think this is a conversation that obviously can go on for years, let alone minutes. So
So how do you think they took,
Why do you hate us?
the history of,
Sean's having fun with computers. So where do we go from here? Like, I mean, I always want to try and find a solution, right? Obviously, we're not
Well,
going to find a solution in a
I
half-hour
think the
conversation.
solution is sitting right here.
That.
In
Why
John
was
Wallace.
Why was I right about to say that? Why was I about to go
Tell
there?
them why. Tell them why. She and I agree. You are the solution. Why? What are you doing with your life that is going to inspire? Comes from the Greek word to breathe in the spirit. And breathing in your spirit this morning. I hear
Yes.
you. I hear what you're saying. I know what you're doing. I get what you're doing with your life, and I'm not only proud of you, but I'm the best college professors that I have ever had in my life are the 3 sitting right across from me, because I'm learning more from you 3 today than I've learned in a long time. I listen to you. What did you do with your life with art, which is the unifier
Yes.
of the universe?
So this is what I did, right? As a kid, walking from Marin City to Sausalito to school, being called the N-word by people rolling their windows down at me, right? Having to stuff that in since 8 years old. Having my mother beat by a cop, and she suffered a massive stroke. Having to go to prison with all that anger and wanting to do something to police officers for the pain that they caused my mother, right? For the pain that I had to witness my mom go through. I wanted to harm others. What did I do with that? Well, I'll tell you, once I got to prison, some things changed. I took mental snapshots of everything inside of San Quentin State Prison and other prisons they sent me to. I never wanted to return to that. I got my GED in state prison because I lied to people. I wanted to feel this connection with the world and these groups of people that I ran with. I wanted to say, hey, I'm different. And I'm going to show you I'm different because of this. And so I stuck to the street code. And the street code is what got me all of the bad results in my life. So how did I change that? Well, the flip side of that was, as she was saying, education, right? I educated myself while in prison. I started feeling like I had some type of love in my heart to love myself enough to go get my GED, right? From there, going into college, I started studying criminology. I was in class, and almost a year and a half in the class, we had 2 police officers and a fireman come in. And I asked, am I wasting my time doing this right now? This class, with a felony on my record. And what they told me was something very shocking, and it crushed me. They said, yeah, you're wasting your time, man. And instead of giving a young black man some type of support, like,
Hope.
yeah, there's ways around this, hope,
Hope,
and
yeah.
inspire me to keep going,
Right, or an alternative
I
avenue.
walked out of class that day feeling crushed. And I walked out of class that day feeling like I was taking that long mile walk to school, middle school. And felt like that those windows that were rolled down and they were yelling the N-word at me, you know, all that stuff started coming back and flooding my memory. And then I started remembering things like, you little nigga, you're not going to amount to shit.
Yeah.
I kept hearing that as a
Right.
kid. And so that's how I flipped it. I had a psychic change within myself. I got into recovery. I got into the things that would save my life. Because it's really easy for me to go right back to where I want to go.
Yeah.
If I want to go that. I could choose that, right? And then I started looking at, like, the officer that hit my mom. You know, and the day that it came for me to see this man,
Oof.
it presented itself. And I don't know how the hell the word "I forgive you" came out of my mouth. I'm just gonna let you know that. I don't know how that came out. Because here I had my mom, who was a vegetable, basically, who was told that she would never walk or talk again, laying in a hospital bed, and all that pain inside of me. And that moment was turning into rage, you know. And so the lyrics that I write and the kids that I try to inspire on a daily comes from the pain that I stuffed down, that I never wanted anybody to know about.
Right.
It was something that I never ever want anybody to go through. They don't understand.
Yeah.
And I started telling myself, they don't understand me, they don't understand what I'm going through right now. And it was those walls that I put up that block the outside world from coming in.
Take a deep breath here, John.
And in that moment,
Let me ask you this.
I
What
was
did you
able to
learn?
change my perspective on life.
Thank you for sharing this. I cannot tell you how grateful I am. What did you find out about yourself and forgiveness, John?
That
How does it unburden you?
it's freeing. It's freeing, you know, and for anyone that's you know, my people and people hereafter, I mean, other generations of color, like forgiveness is huge. That's the way we move forward.
You are an amazing spirit. You're a remarkable young man. You're a blessing to me and everybody at this table and everybody listening. You're astounding
I was thinking.
because you've taken an anvil and unloaded it in front of people
Right.
and laid that anchor down. And you will sail and you will succeed and you will lift and shift and gift thousands of lives. You're a blessing. Thank you. I thank you personally.
I was thinking about what you do and who your people are and what your mission in life is, what you've chosen as your purpose. And I think that that's a really important thing to recognize, is that the people who do the most in the world weren't given a purpose, they chose a purpose. And that's moving, because people fall into things all the time. You fall into wealth, you fall into a job, you fall into a career. But when you actively choose your purpose, there is a passion and inspiration to it. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about people of color as a community is that we've managed to hold on to our storytellers.
Wow.
We've managed to hold on to our, our grandmas and our pops and our, big mamas and all these people who hold our history for us, because nobody else in the world does. Nobody else in the world holds our histories but our ancestors. And when I say ancestors, I don't say, the people that toiled the soil and put the cotton. I'm talking about like my great aunt May May, who lived to 104 and could tell me what it was like to be alive in America in 1920.
Wow.
And could tell me what Marin City looked like when it first came into existence. The fact that we have founding families in Marin City That's our Mayflower. Like as Marinites, like, and that is like a whole nother thing. Like being titled a Marinite is something kind of special all by itself. But like, I can go up to like I'm like that off like. So you came when you were 8. So are you Coleman affiliated? Are you Bowie affiliated? I'm sure you know my cousin Mark. Like there's a very deep rooted sense of community in all cultures of people of color. It's the reason why I can walk down the street, see a stranger, and have them say, "What's up, sis?" That's our word, and it's not just like a hi. It's a recognition of a shared history, and our storytellers keep that history alive. Where everybody else in the United States doesn't want to talk about it. It's where we know what sundown towns are. It might not be passed on from my mother to me, but it's passed on from somebody who looks like me to me. It's the knowledge that it's the unconscious things that we learn growing up, things that might be different because of the different experiences that we have. I dated white boys. So a conversation needed to be had. My mom sat each one of them down and was like, "You're taking my daughter to Santa Rosa. I need you to be aware of where you are, who you're doing. If you're gonna hold hands, pay attention to where you're walking first." Like, those messages are sometimes subtle and they're sometimes not. And when we say, "How you doing, Queen? What's up, brother?" That's I see you, I know your struggle today. And it's generational. So to bring it back to the Juneteenth, you've got Juneteenth t-shirts, you've got, off-colored and uncouth fried chicken and watermelon for a potluck. Susie May is talking about who's bringing black-eyed peas to the potluck. And I'm like, this is not yours. This is not yours. If you want to celebrate, learn something hard today.
Ooh.
If you want to celebrate the emancipation of the last freed slaves in the United States, find out why it took 2 years. Really find out why it took 2 years. Understand what the lives for those people were like after they got to put down their tools. Spend the day. And I want to say this to so many corporate situations, like the idea that it's now like a federal holiday, it's a bank holiday. So everybody working in a white collar job gets the day off. The number of people of color holding white collar positions is marginal compared to white people. The number of black people holding white collar positions is even more negligible. The black men who come out of prison with hopes and dreams and aspirations and want to aspire to live in the corporate world, damn near non-existent. And every time one of them gets out, they're the last freed. Because the penal system wasn't a thing. He hates me. John Wallace hates me. The penal system wasn't a thing until they couldn't have slaves anymore. By definition, it is slavery. It is written into the Constitution that no man can be enslaved without pay unless he commits a crime. And then he can go right back into slavery. That's why we have a prison system.
Is that under the 13th Amendment?
It is.
So I think it said something like, you're to be free unless you commit a crime, and they can treat you as a slave again, paying you like 19 cents an hour. And I remember those times when I was in San Quentin State Prison making 10 cents an hour to work. And then we talk about, the fact that we're in prison and it's supposed to be rehabilitation, right? And we rehabilitate ourselves, right? I went to prison. I took responsibility for my crimes. I got my GED while there, got out and started going to college. But then as a part of getting out and having some type of responsibility, you can't vote. You can't get a job.
Yep.
You can't rent a place. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry, I have to go introduce the new Secretary of State. I love you, but I gotta be in a location. awesome, 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 awesome. Thank you. I'm sorry I have to go.
We'll see you later,
We're
Mike.
rolling.
Mike, I would go out
cut
behind
this.
us.
Huh?
I would go out behind us for sure.
Go that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't serve. It doesn't serve.
Brilliant job today by all of you.
It
And
doesn't
I'm sorry
serve.
I have to leave, but I do have this thing scheduled.
Thank you, Mike.
we'll see you at
Thanks,
2,
Mike.
I'll
Mike.
see you too.
We'll see you at 2.
John,
Yeah, you will.
remarkable. Remarkable.
Sister, move that light for me.
Remarkable.
Move that light
So
for me.
if you could, like, what would you see for Juneteenth? As if you could write the nation a letter and tell them how you would personally like every state, every city to celebrate our Independence Day, what would you want them to do?
As a nation, I think that, like honestly, I would want them to, a day of education
Right?
instead of a day of celebration.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's right to celebrate the fact that 3 million plus people were freed. You know,
Yeah.
that doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't sit right with me that some chose to see, some chose to, you know,
Push the mic, bro.
some chose to not leave and, you know, drown in the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, some of our people, and you know, so I think it needs to be like a day of education instead of celebrating it.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be marked as Black History narrowed down to 1 month, because this is American history.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're Americans. Like this is American history. It's not just 1 day
Yeah.
or 1 month, and I think that it needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
It needs to be, we feel left out.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always going to feel that way if people aren't educated. And that's when they're educated, some might say it might turn into more hate and more fear, but you don't know until you try it.
Right.
We don't know what will happen if we educate the world, and we don't know, you know, and this is why music is so important, because I say a lot of things in my lyrics that I went through and that I wish people would be able to see
Yeah.
through my lenses right here.
Yeah.
Because if we try on different lenses, no one knows what it's like to walk. I don't know what it's like to walk in your shoes every day. I don't know what it's like to be given things and have a mom and dad that had everything. I don't know what that's like. I had to, you know, struggle and some days not know where our next meal was coming from.
Right.
What we call it sugar bread, where we would toast a piece of bread in the oven and put sugar on it
Yeah.
to fill our bellies. You know, like those struggles were real for me. And being on government assistance, my dad was so proud that he wouldn't accept government assistance. Being one of 11 kids, my father would not accept that. And he busted his ass to take care of us. And still, it was one of the most, you know, heartening things that I remember, because my father was, I call him a warrior today, you know, and he taught me so much about love thy neighbor. Anyone that came in my house, he would cook for them. I had, all my friends were white, pretty much. My parents didn't understand. It's because, as a kid, when I was called those N-words by these people, right, I flipped it and wanted to join, like, see what they were all about. And when I learned that their kids don't do that, and that it was a learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you go to any preschool and you observe the behavior of kids playing in a park, none of them see color.
Like legitimately,
Right.
don't see color.
You
It
sit
doesn't
behind a
exist.
window and you just observe a playground right now
Yep.
at any preschool,
Yep.
at any middle school, pretty much. Those kids don't see color. Right? I want to get back to that.
Yeah.
That's what the world needs to get back to, that part right there. Because somewhere along the lines, it shifts,
Right.
and there, and it happens in the homes.
Yep.
So if there was anything that I could do today, for the holiday, it would be to educate
Absolutely.
and to get back to when we were kids, like the real meat of it.
Yeah.
Kids on the playground.
Yeah. It should be that way. It absolutely should be that way. And I think that we are at a crossroads. Are we out of time?
Yeah, the camera died.
Oh, the camera died. Well,
Still
it's,
rolling
That one
audio?
died. That one died.
I was just looking at
And they're just looking at us.
Grimshaw, Trevor.
Yep.
I think that
See, we should have kept it to a half hour.
Are we,
yeah.
Except
still-
for
well,
Samantha.
Are we still rolling audio? We can at least close this out.
No, it looks like everything died.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah,
No, it
yeah.
just died.
No audio whatsoever?
Yep. So hold on, let me just switch it out and see what happened. That
It's
was
still
weird.
live on Facebook right now.
Yeah, it's about a 10-second delay.
Okay.
But I'm not sure
We can-
what the heck. Is
Ooh-wee.
You're still receiving audio.
I'm so tired. Did you know Freeze?
Yeah.
That's my cousin.
Are you serious?
Yes. Auntie Betty's my mama's sister.
What?
That's my people.
It says
Capri's
old
one of
device.
the. She's my second cousin.
Oh
Like
my
that's
God.
my family.
I can't start
It's so
my
nice to meet you. Also-
you know Kathy Fuqua and all them. Yeah, that's my
can't even
dad's
switch
first
my
sister. That's
mics.
my aunt.
There we go.
yes.
All right, so everyone, we ran into
Yes.
technical difficulties.
Oh my goodness, it's such a
thank you so
small
much for
world.
joining us.
Also,
This
I've
was
known Gabe
this
Schillinger
week
since I was,
Donuts
like,
for
5.
Breakfast. Starting
Yeah,
next
I
week,
was-
we will be talking about
just-
generational wealth.
Yes.
And we're really excited to be talking about that. So thank you again for joining us on this show today. Thank you for joining us throughout the entire program. And thank you for bearing with us on our awesome technical difficulties. We are always learning. So again, I don't know. Can I say thank you any more times? You guys can't see this right now.
Merci.
But we're all giving hugs, high fives. I mean, this was freaking awesome. Thank you so much, John, for joining us, and we will see you next week on Donuts for Breakfast, and join us today at 2 for We Are the Remedy, again, here with John. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Smile, share a compliment, share a smile with someone, make someone's day, and go out there and continue being people, helping people, and have a fantastic day.